Hello everyone, back at it again in my little yellow kayak. We're doing something a little different today. We're going frog fishing. Got my frog rod out and my favorite hollow belly frog for kayak fishing. And that is a scum frog, painted frog in the new moon color, otherwise known as black. You see what I did there? I put my whole body into the hook set. So there's two things fishing from a kayak. You have, especially one as low as this one, I'm sitting pretty much level to the water. That's a nice fish right there. He ate that black frog. Perfect. Hook position right in the roof of the mouth there. He wasn't coming off. That's the way to start a trip. Anyway, so there's two things I do when fishing frog from a kayak. I use a super soft frog, and that's that scum frog, painted frog. That's why I like it so much. It collapses so easily. You know, all that fish has to do is put a little pressure on it, and the frog collapses and the hooks come out. So you get good hook sets. And the other thing I do is I kind of bow down to the fish when they strike, and I reel down to them until I can feel them. I want to feel contact with the fish. And then I put my whole body into the hook set. So it's kind of a extreme hook set. I don't do that from a bass boat or even a crawdad. But you have so little leverage sitting in the bottom of a boat. I'm almost level with the water in this particular kayak. And so I'm almost on the same plane as the fish. And you don't have the same leverage you do, you know, 3 feet higher in a bass boat standing up. And then the standing up part's huge too. I'm not standing here. So you really have to put the beans to them to get a good hook set from a kayak. And this is just the way I've kind of figured out how to do it over the years, showing you the black frog. I have a lot of confidence in the black frog for whatever reason. A lot of people like white or chartreuse. I think that's partly so they can see the frog. I feel like the fish can see the contrast of a black frog better, and I just have a lot of confidence in it. Some days they'll be on a different color, but given the choice, I usually start out with black and then see how it goes. Alright, a few casts later, I'm still fishing the same small stretch of lily pads. And I'm sort of targeting the outside edges because that's where my first fish was from. And yeah, I got another one. Not quite as big, but he's a decent fish. Always fun on the frog whenever you can get him to go for it. It's funny, these fish move around from lily pad pods to lily pad pods. You know, there's lily pads all over this lake, but sometimes the depth isn't right and the fish will just abandon them. You know, like if the water's too low, maybe there's only a foot of water underneath those pads, and then the water will come up, and suddenly there'll be a stretch of pads that's loaded with fish, and just another 6 or even 12 inches of water makes a huge difference for them. So every time out, I have to go through and kind of fish all the different pad areas again. And it seems like, you know, the fish move around. They move around this pond, and it could be something else like sunfish beds. Sometimes the sunfish will be in the pads, and all the fish will be in the patch of pads with the sunfish too. You know, and so if the sunfish aren't spawning in a different group of pads, that area is going to be dead, you know, no fish. Other times it's herring fry. And these schools of herring will swirl around the lake, and just randomly they show up at different parts of the lake and different patches, and all of a sudden the fishing lights up where those herring are. Another decent fish on the black frog. I like how they're eating it too. That means I've got the right color on for this morning. Yeah, that's a nice one. Solid fish. Off he goes. So I kept working my way around the lake. I found another patch of pads with some fish in it. Again, it seemed like the outside edge was where those fish were waiting to ambush bait. See how I leaned down? I kind of bowed down to the fish. And then I put my whole body into the hook set. That together with that super soft frog, I get a pretty high percentage of fish in the boat. And again, you don't have to do that if you're standing up in a crawdad or a bass boat or tin boat. So much easier. You have so much more leverage. But this is what I've found works best for me in a kayak. Another solid fish. Not quite as big as that first one. Let's talk about that black frog just a little bit more. You can see it's got a double frog hook on it. That's an owner hook, high quality hook. And I don't bend it out at all. I just leave it completely stock. It's not the most weedless frog because it's so soft, but it's definitely my favorite from a kayak. And so it will come through lily pads okay. I mean, I fished it all morning. It was pretty good. But some stuff like bulrushes, the reeds, any kind of tougher stuff. Sometimes with a frog you can actually throw it into the bushes and jiggle it in the bushes. And this frog is not the frog to do that with. It'll get hung up in the branches every single time. But for outside edges of pads, even through some lighter pad fields like this, it was great. What's unique about this frog is if you watch me fishing it, I never have to stop to squeeze the water out. A lot of frog manufacturers, they'll go and put shrink wrap on the hook or some other kind of silicone or rubber or gaskets to try to keep the water intrusion out of the frog. And they'll have like an exit port where you squeeze it and you shoot the water out of the frog. Scum frog's gone the other direction with their frog. I got one here I'm setting up on. He missed it. Or maybe I missed him. One or the other. Anyway, scum frog has an exit port on the keel of the frog. So the back end of the frog, there's a great big hole. And what that means is that when you make a cast, like I'm making a cast just there, the water, if any, that's in the frog just flies out. So you never have to squeeze the frog. It also means that the frog is essentially unsinkable while you're fishing it. So if a fish takes the frog down and squeezes all the air out of it, yeah, it's going to fill up with water and sink. But on the next cast, all the water's going to fly out and it'll float again. So to me, that's another huge advantage of this frog, is that I never waste time squeezing it to get the water out. It just automatically ejects all the water on the cast. So it's super soft, comes with great owner hooks. I never have to squeeze it. It never sinks, and it's great for kayak fishing. For some other, kinds of fishing, I like different manufacturers' frogs a little bit better. But for kayak fishing, this is my frog. I've tried them all, and I can't find another one that's as good. Now toads, that's another video entirely, but for toads, I have my favorites there too. All right, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Just like all my other videos, I'll put all the gear, hooks, baits, rods, line, all of it in the video description so you can duplicate what I was doing out here today. Hopefully have some good success frog kayak fishing on your home lake, wherever that is. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!